Welcome back to Tiara Speaks Dog. This is the 20th episode. Woohoo! Just kidding. The 20th episode, and I'm pretty happy that I have been able to have the willpower to do this almost every morning. In spite of, you know, having to talk and listen to my own voice every morning. Okay. But today I want to talk about something that has very little to do with dogs and everything to do with the kind of person a dog can follow. Okay. That's, of course, the theme of most of this podcast. Willpower. Okay. Willpower. If you've ever raised a teenage puppy, you already know exactly what I'm talking about. They test you, not because they're evil, not because they hate you, but because they're asking one question over and over again. They're asking, "Are you serious?" When I was 16 years old, my mom surprised me with a puppy that I named Josh. Joshua Kyle, artist specifically. She told me that he was a Jack Russell Terrier. Now, he definitely had the face of a Jack Russell Terrier, but somewhere around his first birthday, when he weighed around 50 or 60 pounds, I realized somebody had been lied to. Josh turned out to be some sort of a hound mix. He may have had Jack Russell in there somewhere, but he was just too dang big. If you've ever lived with a hound, you already know that those dogs have some opinions. Josh was actually doing pretty well in his training, except for one thing. Every time we walked past a house that had dogs behind a fence, it was game on. They barked. They would fence fight. They loved to fence fight every single time. Now, back then, I didn't have nearly the education that I have today. I wasn't a professional trainer, but I did have something. I had determination. One day, I remember telling myself, "We are not leaving the street until you figure this out." We walked past the house. They exploded, barking. I doled out corrections. He settled. But instead of continuing the walk, I turned around and we walked back to the beginning of the street. And then we did it again. Again, they did it again. Explosion. I doled out some corrections. Then I turned around and we went back to the beginning of the street again and again and again. Now, by this point, the neighbors were probably wondering what this strange girl was doing walking back and forth in front of the same house all afternoon. But I didn't care. I did not care because I had already decided that this time I was going to be more stubborn than Josh. We must have walked past that house 20 times and probably more. I don't remember. And eventually, something happened. Josh didn't bark, he kept it moving. And the dogs behind the fence barked. He looked, thought about it, and kept walking. What's even funnier is that eventually the dogs behind the fence stopped barking too. Everybody got tired, except for me. And that's when I learned one of the most valuable lessons in dog training. Some dogs have incredible persistence, but humans have something dogs don't: the ability to choose persistence before the challenge even begins. That's willpower. That's willpower. It's deciding in advance that quitting isn't one of the possible outcomes. When most people run into a difficult behavior, they start negotiating with themselves. "This is embarrassing. People are watching. I'll work on it tomorrow. Maybe this method doesn't work." Meanwhile, the dog is learning something too. They're learning whether your expectations change when life becomes inconvenient. You think they don't know? They're like, "Oh, they're watching TV. They're not going to get up to correct me and put me back in place." You think dogs don't know? Teenage dogs are especially good at asking that question, not because they're trying to dominate you, but because adolescence is when every animal starts testing the boundaries of the world around them. They discover what happens if they ignore you, if they pull harder, if they bark longer, if they refuse the cue one more time. Your response teaches them whether those behaviors are worth repeating. And I think that's why visualization is so important. Before I ever thinking about working through a difficult behavior, I already know how the story ends. I picture the finished dog, the calm walk, the reliable recall, the polite greeting, and then I imagine the world ending with me still walking toward that outcome. Did you hear that? I imagine the world ending with me still walking toward that outcome. If that's the picture that I have in my mind, then there's no urgency. There's no panic. There's only the next repetition, and then the next one, and then the next one, until we get there, until we get to the point that I visualized. So don't avoid those difficult moments. Walk towards them, train through them. Don't worry about who's watching. The people driving by don't have to live with that dog. You have to live with that dog. You don't need their approval. You need consistency. Eventually, your puppy stops testing you because they discover something very important. Your expectations are not temporary. They aren't emotional. They aren't dependent on your mood. They're simply the way life works. And once a dog believes that, training becomes dramatically easier because they're no longer wondering whether you'll follow through. They already know you will. Because the greatest skill in dog training isn't timing, even though it's very important. Please practice your timing or technique or equipment. Sometimes it's simply refusing to quit before your dog does.